This is something controversial. I'm calling out the entire makeup industry. These companies are telling you, yeah, it's gentle, it's safe. And then 10 years down the line, oh my God, I'm infertile. Oh my God, I have cancer.
The same chemicals being dumped and running through the rivers are running through our blood.
Skincare, hair, feminine care products have been associated with reproductive problems.
Advocates and researchers are calling for better working conditions for nail technicians as a University of Toronto study finds, quote, high levels of hazardous chemicals in nail salons.
Some of the levels were up to 100 times higher than what we found in homes, but they were also much higher, up to 30 times higher than what we found in an e-waste facility.
Nail technicians have been worried about their health.
A new report puts the nail salon industry under a negative spotlight once again, this time over workers' wages.
Nail salon workers say they are regularly paid less than minimum wage and forced to work extra hours with no overtime pay. So just because a manicure is cheap doesn't mean someone isn't paying a price.
Both labs found an eyeshadow in the kit contained asbestos, a known carcinogen. In this slide, you can see what the lab called an asbestos fiber.
I was shocked and appalled.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me here with another, Pure Evil Files series video. Today I'm back with the beauty, cosmetics, makeup, and nail salon industry files. So let's get started into this deep dive video, activism video. So the makeup industry's darkest secret is hiding in your makeup bag. In 2021, the beauty industry remains largely unregulated. Puja Volida, a victim of capitalism, most mornings she gets up early at the crack of dawn with her father and heads for the mines. When they arrive, kids are already pouring out of the holes in the ground, their cheeks and clothes caked with a glittery dust. Puja and her friends, some as young as 5 years old, will spend the rest of the day shimmying into small man-made tunnels and embankments all around the area. Armed with ice picks, hammers, baskets, they carefully chip into the sides of the backs of a small pits to loosen the rock and dirt around them before carefully hauling it out of the mine. The children take turns dumping their baskets over a red immunity shifting tool, a large piece of netting with a wooden frame that reveals handfuls of mica, a shimmering mineral composite that's been forming underground for hundreds of thousands of years. If Puja is lucky, she'll make between 20 to 30 rupees a day for a day's work, converts roughly 29 to 43 cents in U.S. currency at the time of publication. Not only is her work keeping her from attending school or getting education, but it also puts her in harm's way every single day. If a mine collapses while she's inside, a daily risk on a daily basis for the estimated 22,000 kids that work in the mica mines in neighboring states. It could leave her injured, paralyzed, or even dead. Puja has no idea where the mica goes after it's sold to brokers in town. She just knows it's the only way to feed her own family. Eventually, the raw mineral excavated by Puja and other children will be collected by a broker who sells it to an exporter who delivers it to a manufacturer, typically in China, is then milled to fine pearly pigment that is purchased by international beauty companies to add a reflective finish to your eyeshadow, blush, lipstick, etc. Mica linked to child labor is littered throughout the cosmetics industry, taking up residency in every single thing from high-end eyeshadow palettes to drugstore lipsticks. Listed as mica: potassium, aluminum, silicate, CI77019 on ingredients list. It is what gives body lotion or eye cream a light glow, makes toothpaste look extra bright, or provides BBB cream with a supple radiance. Unlike chunky glitter often made from plastic, mica's delicate shimmer is one of the pillars of modern-day makeup, and 60% of the high-quality mica that goes into cosmetics comes from India. British colonizers discovered the valuable mineral and nicknamed the area the Mina Belt. Roughly 70% of mica produced in India comes from the illegal mines that are totally unregulated by the government. Breathing in the dust in mica mines can cause infections, diseases, and permanent damage to the lungs. Another victim of capitalism of this was when the mine collapsed on top of them, with the aftermath of 2 broken feet, a fractured leg, and damage to her spinal cord and spine as a whole. Since 2009, 595 cosmetic manufacturers have reported using 88 chemicals in more than 73,000 products that have been linked to cancer, birth defects, and reproductive harm. Researchers at the University of Notre Dame tested more than 230 commonly used cosmetics, found that 56% of foundations and eye products, 48% of lip products, and 47% of mascaras contain high levels of fluorine, an indicator of PFAS, so-called forever chemicals that are used in non-stick frying pans, rugs, and countless other consumer products. Some of the highest PFAS levels were found in waterproof mascara, 82%, and long-lasting lipstick, 62%, according to the study published. The global market for skin lightening creams is $8.8 billion in 2022, and projected to grow to $11.8 billion by 2026. A new report from the Zero Mercury Walking Group finds that half of skin lightening creams tested contain dangerous high levels of mercury, but continue to be sold by online retailers like Amazon, eBay, and Flipkart. They tested 271 products purchased from them and more than 40 online retailers. Of the skin creams tested, 129 products had mercury levels over 1 part per million, or ppm. In Sacramento, a woman fell into a coma after using skin cream contaminated with mercury. When tested, her blood had 500 times the acceptable amount of mercury. Mercury is a highly toxic heavy metal. Mercury exposure can cause kidney damage, skin rashes, skin discoloration, and scarring, as well as a reduction in the skin's resistance to infections, and it can actually lead in death. Mercury can. Other effects include anxiety, depression, psychosis, and nerve damage that can result in pain or numbness, or the tingling in the hands, arms, and legs and feet. Advise consumers not to use 3 Claire's brand cosmetic products after tests found they contain asbestos. The company said in a statement its products are safe, and the company took issue with the FDA's test. They proceeded to gaslight the victims of capitalism about the product, saying it's safe and saying the results were not true. Clearly they have something to hide. Like the Claire's, they used to have asbestos in their products. Like the kids store at the mall used to go to, they were trying to hide that there was asbestos in their products.
Now on to Johnson & Johnson. Controversy. Johnson & Johnson knew for decades that asbestos lurked in their baby powder. Johnson & Johnson did not tell the FDA that at least 3 tests by 3 different labs from 1972 to 1975 had found asbestos in its talcum-based powders. In one case, levels reported as rather high in the testing. Darlene Coker was a victim of one of these companies, Johnson & Johnson's that I'm talking about. She knew that her cancer arose in the delicate membrane surrounding her lungs and other organs. She knew it was rare as it was deadly. The signature of exposure to asbestos. She knew of it affiliated mostly men who inhaled asbestos dust in coal mines and other industries. The victim, who was at the time 52 years old, had raised 2 daughters and was running a massage school in Lamberton, a small town in eastern Texas. How had she contracted and been exposed to this asbestos? She wanted answers as to why she got cancer. Her daughter said, fighting for every breath and in crippled, dire pain, the victim hired a personal injury lawyer. He homed in on a suspect, the Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and shower to shower, and that Coker had used on her infant children and sprinkled all over herself for all her life. The lawyer knew that the talcum-based asbestos often occurred together in this earth, that the mined talcum powder could be contaminated with this probable human carcinogen. The victim sued Johnson & Johnson's, alleging that the poisonous talcum powder in the company's beloved product was her killer. Johnson & Johnson denied the claim. Baby powder was asbestos-free, they said. As the lawsuit proceeded, Johnson & Johnson were able to avoid handling over talcum test results and other internal company records and documents the lawyer had requested. The victim had no choice but to drop her lawsuit. Later on, the lawyer said, "When you are the plaintiff, you have the burden of proof," he said, "but we didn't have it because the evidence, they couldn't prove it because the evidence wasn't there." The victim never learned why she had cancer. She did beat the odds, though most patients die within a year of this diagnosis. The victim held on long enough to see her 2 grandchildren. She died in 2009, 12 years after her diagnosis, at age 63. And this is a quote from her daughter. "When Mom was given this death sentence, she was the same age as I am right now," her daughter said. "I have it in the back of my mind all the time. Could this happen to me or my sister?" She said. Later, the victim and her lawyer sought its emerging as Johnson & Johnson's has been compelled to share thousands of pages of company memos, internal reports, internal documents, and other confidential documents with lawyers for some of the 11,700 plaintiffs, now claiming that the company's talcum-based baby powders caused their cancer, including thousands of women with ovarian cancer. The earliest mention of tainted Johnson & Johnson's talcum-based powder was found from 1957 and 1958. Reports by a consulting lab, they described contaminants in talcum-based powders from Johnson & Johnson's Italian supplier as fibrous and sharp, which is asbestos, that's what it is. That one of the 6 minerals in their naturally occurring fibrous form are classified as asbestos. The various times from then into the early 2000s, reports from scientists at Johnson & Johnson's outside labs and Johnson & Johnson's supplier yielded similar findings. The reports identified contaminants in the talcum and finished powder products as asbestos. In 1976, the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, was weighing limits on the asbestos in cosmetic talcum products. Johnson & Johnson assured them and assured the regulator of the FDA that no asbestos was detected or found in any sample of the product between December 1972 and October 1973. It didn't tell the agency that at least 3 tests by 3 different labs from 1972 to 1975 had found asbestos in its talcum-based baby powder products. One case at levels reported as rather high, extremely high. The World Health Organization and other authorities recognize no safe level of exposure to asbestos. While most people exposed never develop cancer, for some even small amounts of asbestos are enough to trigger the disease of cancer years later. Johnson & Johnson recalled 33,000 bottles of its baby powder after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration found traces of asbestos in bottles purchased online. A U.S. court has upheld the verdict that talcum powder sold by Johnson & Johnson caused ovarian cancer and other cancers, and ordered the pharmaceutical giant, to pay $2.1 billion in damages. The company knowingly sold products that contained a human carcinogen, asbestos, to consumers. The Supreme Court also later rejects Johnson & Johnson's appeal to throw out their $2 billion verdict in this case. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye guys, thanks.
For years, high-end fragrances and celebrity perfumes and colognes were a highly desired novelty item, smelling of Chanel or Dolce and Gabbana. Light blue was considered a sign of luxury that only a person of status might afford. However, according to statistics, sales of extravagant fragrant products like these have dropped significantly in the last few years. It's possible that one of the main reasons for this is the world is becoming more informed and educated about the toxic nature of those products. Perhaps the reason fragrance companies got away with selling toxic products for so long is that they are not legally required to list their ingredients on the labels. Regulations have made it legal to keep their ingredients undisclosed by simply disguising them under the fact and the term of fragrance. In fact, the company can legally use over 400 ingredients under a single term to protect their trade formulas. Numerous studies have found that the most commonly used ingredients in commercial fragrance products can induce mild allergic reactions like headaches, migraines, sinus inflammation, itchiness, running nose, and can contribute to worse issues like hormonal imbalance, organ damage, and even cancers. Researchers discovered that fragrance used at work was commonly associated with work-related asthma. In a follow-up study by researchers who tested phthalates in 47 perfumes, they discovered that all the perfumes tested induced DNA damage, which causes cancer and things like that. While virtually all Americans are exposed to fragrance, chemicals on a daily basis, women have a greater body burden, largely from the beauty and cosmetic industry products absorbed through their skin. The average American woman uses 12 through 16 products a day that may contain fragrance. Anyone who has walked past a nail salon, whether that's in a shopping center or at the mall, is familiar with the toxic odors that emanate from acrylic nails, nail polishes, and removers. Nail salon technicians and workers and employees inhale 10 times more chemicals than e-waste workers. For a lot of people, visiting a nail salon for a manicure and pedicure is about treating themselves to a cheap but still luxurious pampering session. But for nail salon tech workers, it's not always low wages and extremely long hours while being cooped up in a small room or chair that takes a toll on their health. A recent study found that nail technicians who work in discount salons are exposed to a wide range of chemicals that are used as flame retardants and plasticizers. Flame retardants are shown to cause cancer, hormone disruption, and neurological damage. They also are famous for accumulating in the human body over a long period of time that results in chronic health issues and conditions. This includes diabetes and reproductive health and thyroid function issues overall. Exposure to all types of Pallene plasticizers have been associated with low birth weight, endometriosis, decreased testosterone, ADHD, to diabetes, and breast urinary cancer. Nail products like nail polish, for example, are known to contain toxic chemicals such as formaldehyde. DBP is a reproductive and developmental toxinurant. Toxin is a developmental and neurological toxin, and formaldehyde is a known carcinogen. Technicians with pre-existing asthma conditions may have difficulty breathing or suffer continuously asthma attacks because of the dust, chemicals, and overall all the toxic chemical vapors in a nail salon. The reason for all this is because Big Pharma profits off your disease, pain, and sickness. They want to keep you sick. They're all working together to keep you sick, to make those huge, massive amounts of capitals and profits. That's why they keep you in pain and suffering, so they can profit off of it. Now on to the pollution of the beauty plastic onto the world and making massive amounts of capitals and profits. But at what the cost of Mother Earth and the environment as a whole? These capitalism brands such as Big Oil and Nestle know these products damage the environment, but they don't care because it makes them money and it's cheaper, so they choose to continue to sell it and them. The capitalism greenwashing has got to stop. To be green is to be red, period, point blank. Capitalism system puts profits over the lives of everything, including that of Mother Earth herself. The personal care and beauty industry produces more than 120 billion units of packaging every year globally, most of which is not truly recyclable. In 2018, in the United States alone, almost 7.9 billion units of rigid plastic were created just for beauty and personal care products, and the problem is set to get worse. The global cosmetics market generated approximately $341.1 billion in 2020, and it's expected to grow to $560.50 billion by 2030. Clearly, this is a source of plastic pollution and needs to be addressed. Since 1950, the beginning of large-scale plastic production, only 9% of the world's plastic has actually been recycled. In recent years, more people have awakened to the truth that the idea of recycling plastic is largely a myth. Environmental impact-wise, your gel nails and nail acrylics are non-degradable along with the gloves they use and nail filters. In addition to that, nail polish and its removers are considered hazardous waste because they are toxic and very highly flammable. This means when they have been discarded, they sit in a landfill and leach toxic components such as formaldehyde into the soil. Recent research also research studies also show that the air in nail salons contains high concentrations of microplastics as a whole. We all know that microplastic pollution, and how big a problem it is. It poses a huge risk to our oceans and marine life and, biodiversity on this earth as a whole. But while professional nail art continues to boom, it's given way to worrying and extremely dangerous trend. A manicure may seem like a pretty risk-free and painless beauty procedure. A lot can go wrong: extreme pain, bacterial infection, allergies, and even hospitalization in severe circumstances. The COVID-19 pandemic has given rise to unqualified nail technicians. Financial difficulties caused by the pandemic have meant that lots of people are looking for new ways to save money on their beauty treatments. As a result, cheap offers and services led by unqualified so-called nail techs are more in demand than ever before. But the dangers can't be ignored. A manicure may seem like a pretty risk-free beauty procedure, but a lot can go wrong. In the wrong hands, the risk of getting your nails done are endless. It is not uncommon for people to develop overexposure to certain nail products such as gel or acrylic-based products. Using cheap tools in particular can permanently damage the nail plate and the nail bed. Even something as simple as filling the wrong way could cause extreme pain, as well as using the electric drills on natural nails may expose flesh. Nails and cuticles are meant to keep bacteria from entering your body. Meta says the infections will occur if the client receives any cuts, open wounds, or simply if the nail folds or seals are removed and disrupted, as this provides entry points for bacteria as a whole to enter. Nail salon workers can be exposed to biological hazards if they come into contact with any bodily fluids, skin, nails, or blood from a coworker or client. Diseases that can spread from exposure to this infected blood include hepatitis and AIDS. Nail salon workers can also get fungal infections such as athlete's foot from their own clients. A 2018 national study on nail salon workers by the University of California, Los Angeles Labor Center found that there were some 7,000 nail salons and nearly 17,000 workers across New York State as a whole, heavily concentrated in the New York City area. Virtually every neighborhood is festooned with compact storefronts where nail technicians, mostly women and immigrants, will soak off, buff, and polish your fingernails and toenails for as little as the cost of 3 coffee lattes. The vast majority of nail salon workers have experienced in some form of labor abuse, according to a newly released report by the New York Nail Salon Workers Association. The survey of workers across the New York City region had found that about 8 in 10 respondents reported experiencing wage theft, earning less than what they are supposed to be paid by their employer, and many did not even know they were entitled to a minimum wage. The average amount sucked from workers' take-home pay due to wage theft was $181 per week, or $9,412 per year, the report found. Nail salon workers surveyed were not provided legally mandated rest and meal breaks throughout their shifts. The UCLA Labor Center study found that language barriers and fears of being reported to immigration services authorities. Nearly 2/3 of New York State nail salon workers are Chinese, Korean, or Vietnamese born. Along with the economic insecurity and instability deter workers from reporting labor abuse practices. Now I want to do a short racist history of the cosmetic industry. White women have always been the primary target for mainstream beauty brands, while black women have always been more of an afterthought. Until the early 1940s, makeup was produced and advertised for white women. This then changed when mainstream brands began creating and marketing skin bleaching and lightening creams for women of color. The 1940s advertisements were highly problematic and racist. These advertisements suggest that women of color were expected to try to literally change their skin color through the use of harmful, toxic skin products in order to achieve the white, Eurocentric ideal of feminine beauty. You have to remember that black women are exposed to more toxic beauty products than white women. Many brands are unwilling to cater to women of color in fear that it'll damage their brand, and fear that it'll make their brand less glamorous, less beautiful, and it's attached to black women. In the wake of 2020, beauty brands were listening and learning from voices of black and brown people who now had the upper hand in shedding light on the racism deeply rooted in the industry. But since then, really no progress has been made, actually. Loreal drops first transgender model for speaking out against white supremacy. Bergdorf, the first transgender model to ever be hired by the beauty brand, was dropped from her contract in 2017 when a Facebook post of hers discussing racism and white privilege was posted by the Daily Mail and began to circulate online. In a post that read, in short, honestly, I don't have the energy to talk about the racial violence of white people anymore. Yes, all white people, because most of y'all don't even realize or refuse to acknowledge that your existence, privilege, and success as a race is built on the backs, blood, and death of people of color. L'Oreal took to Twitter to say, L'Oreal champions diversity. Comments by the model are at odds with our values, so we decided to end our partnership with her. And then the model responded to the company, dropping her in a Facebook post, in which she elaborated in her previous post about, while speaking to L'Oreal, hypocrisy as an ally. If L'Oreal truly wants to offer empowerment to underrepresented women, they need to acknowledge the reason why these women are underrepresented within the industry in the first place. She wrote, this reason is discrimination, an action which punches down from a place of social privilege. We need to talk about why women of color were still discriminated against within the industry and just see them as a source of revenue. What's funny about all of this is L'Oreal Paris has just rehired the transgender model after the model called the company out recently about their hypocritical Black Lives Matter campaign Instagram post. You know, it was called hypocritical and a form of gaslighting. The model went on after this to say, you dropped me from a campaign in 2017 and threw me to the wolves for speaking about racism and white supremacy. I said just yesterday that it would only be a matter of time before racist AF brands saw a window of PR opportunity to jump on the bandwagon. On the topic of L'Oreal, the multi-billion-dollar global industry manufacturer and retailer, L'Oreal has always been in the business of painting and coating and glossing its human subjects in one way or another. Not so well known is a story about how they supplied paint to Nazi Germany for its battleships and U-boats. The founder was truly evil, vile human being. The company makes no mention of his dark past when celebrating his achievements on their website. The public has slowly started to uncover the awful reality of the Nazi collaborators to the Nazi regime, fascist regime. So have those collaborators issued their politically correct, pacifying statements and financial gestures in an attempt to keep the lid on their dark history past. L'Oreal coined their famous slogan, because I'm worth it, more than 40 years ago, exploiting their success in a post-war consumer boom. It was clearly worth it to Eugene Scholar and mega empire L'Oreal, but it's somewhat more complex to put worth in L'Oreal's shady past.